Hi everyone, TileSky123 here, and today I'm going to be doing a review of the one with the dodgy dinosaurs. Okay, so the title for this one isn't actually the one with the dodgy dinosaurs, it is Invasion of the Dinosaurs, or for part 1, Invasion, for reasons we'll discuss in a second. But you know, it might as well be called the one with the dodgy dinosaurs because that's the reputation it does have among fandom. And you know, outsiders may laugh and giggle and we may defend it, but inside our circle of Doctor Who fans, this one does get beaten quite a bit really, and unfairly as well, I will say. Yeah, the effects aren't that good, and I mean, they're bad even for the 70s, but you know, Doctor Who had to do dinosaurs eventually. And rather than going back to dinosaur times, it did have the ingenious idea of setting it in London. So you have sort of like some iconic shots, but maybe not iconic for the right reasons, because those puppets are rather bad. And I'll talk about this now right at the start of the review, because I know it's going to plague the review otherwise. Yes, they are not the best at all, far from it. You know, you had the Drashigs with some wonderful creations. You know, it should have used a similar effect here. I believe Barry Letts had wanted to use a different sort of like production group or whatever, but this one assured him that they would be good. They had it in hand, but they just produced these rather naff puppets really. Although I think the pterodactyl right there doesn't get enough credit actually. That one is very well done really, when you sort of like have that up close to John Pertwee and he has to whack it away and whatnot. I think that deserves more credit than it gets. I think that one's very well done. Other than that, you know, the other ones, you have rather poor CSO, which is a feature of the 70s really, and yeah, they are stuck there. They are bad. They're not in the story as much as you think though. They are actually quite absent from the story for the most part, despite them being in the title. They aren't really the main villain. They aren't really the main monsters. Well, they're the monsters, but they're the only monsters but they're not as in the forefront as you would expect. They're a bit like the Daleks, the genesis of the Daleks really. They're there, they're more in the background, they're stirring things up, but you know, they're not actually their own effect, not the cause, and the cause is the thing that this story focuses on. So now that I've got that out of the way with a bit of a disclaimer in some ways, but you know, it had to be done. I needed to get that off my chest before I went on to talk about the rest of this story. So then, Invasion of the Dinosaurs, you've got right here, you have a very nice cover actually. You've got John Pertwee there holding his what's it called, device that detects where the dinosaur is coming from. You have Sarah Jane there under attack from the pterodactyl. You have two dinosaurs battling it out, and the Doctor's new car, the Whomobile, hidden under there. And it is a 2-disc set. Moving onto the spine here, you can see standard stuff there. Not that's going to surprise anyone. There you have the pictures on the top there, starring John Pertwee, written by Malcolm Hulke, blurb there, and also that says there, featuring part 1 for the first time with restored colour, and we'll get onto that in a second. And then special features, legal stuff. Disc 1 here. Disc 2 there, which is the same as the cover and the same as disc 1, only with a greeny effect instead of a red one. And now let's take the booklet out and show you the front of that. Show you the inside of that right there. There you go. And finally, back of it with the chapter points, and it is a 6-part story. So then, the dinosaurs are bad. We've established that they're bad, but let's talk about the other parts of this story. And there is quite a bit to talk about, and I will say this, I love this story. I think I just love it really. I will say it is one of my favourite Pertwees, one of my favourite Doctor Who stories of all time actually. I love it that much, and Some of you will probably be looking at me and thinking, what on earth is he on about? Or more accurately, looking at this DVD since I am not technically in the video. Hello. But anyway, yeah, I love this story. And let's start off with the Doctor and companion dynamic here. Some people don't like the third Doctor and Sarah, and some people, you know, just sort of like see them as there, sort of like before the glory days of Baker and Sladen. And you know, I do like those times, but ultimately I think Sarah Jane is a better character and works better with the third Doctor, at least for me. I think they get along better when it's Sarah and the fourth Doctor, but I think here the relationship just seems to work a lot better. I like that there's a bit of antagonism between them, but not so much that it comes down to bickering. It's very well done in that respect, very well done on both their parts. I think, you know, it's good here that we get to see Sarah's journalism side. You get to see that she is like doing her own thing at the same time, as well as supporting the Doctor, and she very much does that throughout this story. And you know, it's sort of like during this story and The Time Warrior, her first story, where Sarah Jane is at her height, especially in that career aspect of her, where it brings that in and keeps that, but doesn't beat it down your throat or anything like that. You know, it's established that she's a journalist and she actually does things that a journalist would do. She investigates these things. She finds out who the villains are for the most part, and you know, gets into a bit of trouble, and also has to convince these people of what's going on. And yet, only in her second story, she's already been split up from the Doctor for the majority of this story. You know, she sort of like has her own strand in this, and Malcolm Polk is a very good writer for that. And you know, he's given Sarah her own side of the story, while the Doctor follows another side, and that is very interesting in that respect. And you know, overall, she's just enjoyable to watch in this. And you know, Elizabeth Sladen is a marvellous actress, and this just proves that. And then you also have John Pertwee, who's just John Pertwee, really. You know, it's towards the end of his era. I believe this, yeah, while this story was going out, it was announced that he was leaving. His decision was made before that, or it was made before Elizabeth Sladen was even cast, I believe. So, yeah, you know, but he still goes at it really strong in this one. He gives it his all, has some marvellous lines, and you very much see that he does have some sympathy for what the villains are trying to achieve, you know, their golden age, but at the same time he knows that it isn't the way to go about it. And yeah, it's very strong stuff in that respect. And yet Malcolm Hulke always does go for that sort of like slightly political angle, but not entirely, obviously. And also, you know, it just works very well. It's very relevant, and arguably is even more relevant today, really. And you know, it's interesting that Doctor Who was doing these stories about the environment and whatnot, climate change, all the way back then, really. And you know, the Doctor points out that everyone should be interested in it. It affects us all. Actually, I think that was Grover who pointed out. I think his name's Grover. Yeah, I hope it's Grover. But yeah, that's like just very interesting stuff there that is at the heart of this story, really. And you know, I think it's very powerful for that fact. And actually, that's a big feature of the Barry Letts and Terry Sticks era, because you also had it in The Green Death as well, and quite a few other stories probably too. Now we come to the supporting members, the unit family. You have Nicholas Courtney, of course, at his best as the Brigadier here. He has some very good stuff going on, and you know, he's just the Brigadier, really. There's not much else to say about him. He's just great in this story. Nicholas Courtney does a great job with that character. Has some sparkling lines of dialogue, and you know, one sequence that involves the Brigadier, I'm going a bit off topic here, but one sequence that really stands out to me is the scene where the Doctor is trying to have some alone time to work on his machine, and he wants to keep everyone out, so he sort of like ushers Sarah off and then shuts the door, and then Benton comes in or whatever, and then he finally manages to get rid of him, goes up, locks the door, thinks he's finally going to have a moment's peace, but then from the other door the Brigadier just bursts in and just goes, "Ah, Doctor, there you are." And then there's just this look of frustration on the Doctor's face, and it's just a wonderful sequence. But anyway, back to the Brigadier himself now. It's interesting to see sort of like those sequences towards the end, and where he and the Doctor go into the London Underground to actually a bit of a callback to the Weather Theatre, kind of very subtle, probably not even intentional really, but yeah, they go into London Underground to find the villain's lair, as it were, and Brigidier's just like, if you're wrong about this, Doctor, I'm going to have one hell of a task explaining this to the London Underground or London Transport Roller, and then he has to distract the big beastie, as Jamie would call it, the dinosaur that's in there, which I can't remember what type of dinosaur it was. Stegosaurus, that was it, and he has to just distract that with some flares and whatnot. Yeah, it's the Brigadier really, and then we come to Benton, who has that marvellous sequence where he's on about the what's it called, the different spots that they have, the tags, the pins, that's what they are, on the board to show the different sightings of the dinosaurs around London, and he's just going on about your actual pterodactyl and whatnot, and then the Brigadier's just like, thank you, Benton. And that's reminded me of another wonderful line from the Brigadier, where he finds out that the Doctor and Sarah Jane have been arrested as looters, and he's just like, typical, absolutely typical. And it just shows how far their relationship has come, really. And he's just a great character as the Brigadier. And Benton as well, of course, the wonderful John Levine does an excellent job there. And then there's that moment where Brigadier's just like, well, don't just stand there, Benton, put yourself under arrest, and all that stuff, where he sort of like helps the lets the Doctor escape, really. It's just like, well, you better get to work on me, hadn't you, doing some of your Venusian Aikido and whatnot, and then he just sort of like willingly lets the Doctor sort of like grab onto his neck or whatever he did and sort of like knock him out. He just willingly lets the Doctor do that, and it shows how much he trusts the Doctor, really, and I think that is a wonderful moment there. Finally, for the unit crew, we have Mike Yates, who turned traitor in this story, and that was quite interesting. But it worked, really. I think it was well set up within the story itself, and it's sort of like they had a bit of a callback to the Green Death on how he had to take some leave, really, after all that stuff with the maggots and whatnot, and then he gets back to find all this stuff going on. So that's just sort of like works quite nicely there in continuity terms. But at the same time, it's just great to see that dynamic, sorry, not dynamic, but see him turning traitor as well, and see how it was built up to quite nicely, really. And it's not forced at all, I can believe it, I guess. And it must have been quite a shock for the audience at the time, seeing him turn against the Doctor like that. Someone they've watched on their screens for the past over 2 years now, who's been the Doctor's ally, suddenly turns against him. But it's for a good reason. He wants this ideal world, but the means aren't exactly right. And he's very much about defending the Doctor. And the first half of this story is very much about Mike Yates and how he admires the Doctor in a lot of ways. And he doesn't let him get killed by that Tyrannosaurus Rex. He dives in and takes the device off that he planted there and uses it to save the Doctor. And he's sort of like the ideal one of the group. He's the one who's very much about building this new world on the right principles and whatnot. He's not a villain, especially from his point of view. And he's very much committed to the cause, and doesn't agree with all of their methods. I think he's just a very interesting character, really, especially in this story. Before, he didn't have the best stuff to do. He was a bit sort of like awkward there, because you had Benton as well, so there was sort of like 2 of them. It was a bit awkward, but here he does have some great stuff, really, and you get to see some very interesting depths to his character. And then of course he gets sent on compassionate leave at the end here. And the Doctor's just like, poor Mike. And it's quite sad, his story is. But nevertheless, he gets back for Planet of the Spiders, although towards the end of that he does drift out a bit, but that's a story for another day. So that is the unit regulars all done and dusted. And now that little discussion about Mikey Yates turning traitor leads us nicely into the villains of the piece. And given that this is sort of like quite a big organisation, many reveals going on there, there are quite a few to get to. And you've got what's his called, the General Finch, that's it, who's sort of like, you can tell they're setting up from the start. You've got Grover as well, who you sort of like start to like because the Doctor starts to like him, and then he ends up being a baddie. And then you've also got villains that are villains straight from the start, because you sort of like see them in their lab and whatnot. They're very hidden beneath the shadows. They're the ones who are sort of like operating things, and they are not Nyder, but it's the actor who plays Nyder at least, but I can't remember the character's actual name. And you also have Butler, who he's basically a butler and his name is Butler, and he sort of like serves as assistant and whatnot, and also serves as Grover's driver and everything else like that. But yeah, you've got to have quite a nice selection of villains there, really. Nyder lookalike, I can't remember his name for the life of me, so I'm just going to have to call him that, is of course wonderful. The actor, something Lawrence? No. Dr. Lawrence was, no. I'm getting very confused here, but he's a wonderful actor nevertheless. And he does a very good job with those villainous roles. He played quite a few in Doctor Who. He also played, I believe it was Dr. Lawrence in Doctor and the Solarians. I think that's right. I don't know. Dr. Lawrence certainly rings a bell from that story. And he also, of course, played Nyder in Genesis of the Daleks, and also the I, Davros series for Big Finish. And he appears here as well as a character whose name is on the tip of my tongue, but I can't remember. And he does a marvellous job with that character. Grover, I can't remember the actor's name, but he does a very good job in being likeable. You like him, I like him. He is a great character. And there's not really much backstory to him, but the way the actor plays it just makes it a very likeable character. You want to get sucked into this ideal that he's persuading you to sympathise with, but at the same time you think, no, that's wrong, that's evil. And he believes that he is right, which makes him a very good villain as well. And one problem that this story does kind of have is that it does suffer from a main villain, really. But nevertheless, I can ignore that. Really, it doesn't bother me that much. This story doesn't really have a top villain. General Finch now, who also played Win Chiang, but I can't remember the actor's name. John Bennett, I think. Yeah, I'm going to stick with John Bennett, that sounds about right. I think it's something Bennett at least. But he does a very good job with that character, General Finch, and you have some nice standoffs between him and the Brigadier, him and the Doctor, and then even right at the end, him and Sergeant Benton. Of course, you have that wonderful moment where Sergeant Benton gets to punch him and whatnot, and overpower him and everything, and then he gets that cheeky little line on the end where it's just like, I'll tell you this though, not many sergeants get to punch a general on the nose, and then Brigadier's just like, well, don't make a habit of it, Benton. There are some wonderful sparkly bits of dialogue like that Malcolm Polkar's done so well, and it's just little bits like that. But also the overall plot as well is just very well structured at the same time. Very good reveals going on throughout there, and of course we have all those villain reveals as well, and different things going on there where you find out what's going on here, how the dinosaurs are coming to present day, and all that different stuff. And then of course you have that wonderful reveal of the spaceship as well, which is where the Sarah Jane's part of the story just takes a completely left turn and does something a bit different, but something that works, something that fits into this world, and sort of like adds to the mystery. Once you think you're starting to work out everything, suddenly boom, a new mystery for you to solve. And it's very interesting how that plays into it all, and I really do just enjoy all those twists and turns that come with it. Speaking of twists and turns, let's talk about the reveal of the dinosaurs themselves, because Of course, the first episode is titled simply Invasion, not Invasion of the Dinosaurs, and that was to conceal the fact that dinosaurs were in here. That was to make that a big cliffhanger, apparently. Not sure whether that was the best idea, because the story had so many other tricks up its sleeve. Didn't really need that one added in there. I think it would have been fine. It's just Invasion of the Dinosaurs, really. But it's an interesting idea nevertheless, and I think it was Paddy Russell who had the idea for it, and she was quite annoyed when the Radio Times spoiled it anyway by listing it as Invasion of the Dinosaurs or whatever happened there. Something like that, which things didn't exactly go to plan with that surprise. But, I don't really mind it. I think the story has enough twists anyway that, you don't really need that reveal. And it's a bit academic now anyway, because if you buy this, you've got dinosaurs on the cover anyway. You can't really hide the fact that you are going to see dinosaurs in this story. You can't watch it now and be surprised. Unless it randomly pops up on telly and you've never heard of this story before or ever. But yeah, I think it's okay, that reveal is. And while we're on the topic of episode 1, let's talk about the black and white to colour. The colorisation isn't the best, admittedly. You can sort of see where some colours go off, but I don't mind it at all. It works well enough. And, it's sort of good for those eerie scenes of the empty London, which you can't really do nowadays, but they were able to do back then on an early Sunday morning, I think, or something like that. Just early enough in the morning where they could film these scenes without being interrupted or anything like that. And it really is eerie, and I think very good job to Paddy Russell for all those wonderful stuff. She really is a good director for this one, and I think especially during those early scenes you get this nice sort of setup of this almost dystopian, this post-apocalyptic world, even though it's just London. And I'm a sucker for post-apocalyptic stuff, even if this technically isn't. It's still interesting to see that imagery going on there, and I think it works very well for those spooky, eerie setup scenes during part 1. And then also you have the mystery of the car crash where that man drives off and then suddenly crashes and is all beat up and dead. Has blood across half his face. I'm surprised they got away with that, but it's only a quick scene. But yeah, and obviously there's quite a nice mystery set up there, even if we already know what caused it. Those bloody dinosaurs getting in everywhere. Yeah, it's just wonderful, really, those early scenes and the whole story. Yeah, the dinosaurs aren't the best, but I just love this story. I really do. So, yeah, it's just... how can you hate this story? I don't know, maybe if the dinosaurs really do put you off that much. But I don't know, for me personally, I can't hate it just for the dinosaurs alone, because the other plot elements are really strong. Some of them may be a bit absurd, like the idea of time travel here, but I personally like to think the Master may have had something to do with that. Maybe the Master funded Professor Nida lookalike, who I still can't remember the name of, or Professor Whittaker, that's it. Whittaker, like the guy who wrote some of the earlier Doctor Who's. Yeah, there we go, Whittaker. Yeah. It's funny because Sarah says in this story, Whittaker, that rings a bell. Or is it Sarah? I think it's Sarah, because yeah, and and it does ring a bell for us Doctor Who fans, because David Whittaker did write quite a few Doctor Who stories, but it's got nothing to do with that. I'm rambling on a bit now, but yeah, I'm proud of myself for finally remembered his name, and I like to think the Master may have had something to do with that in the shadows, just funding time travel experiments, and maybe he was waiting for the world to revert back, and then he was going to take over the humans that did it and use them somehow. I don't know. Yeah, maybe, I don't know. It's just, it's hard to say with these things. Now then, to conclude my review of Invasion of the Dinosaurs, I'm just going to say, well, I've said it many times, but I do love this story, I really do, and I highly recommend you pick it up in the Unit Files box set. Android Invasion is also a very strong story with the Fourth Doctor and Sarah. It's just a great set, really. Android Invasion might not be as good, and Invasion of Dinosaurs might not be to everyone's taste, But nevertheless, it is one of my favourite Doctor Who stories. Top 15, definitely, I will say. And yes, that has probably shocked many of you out there. Some of you have probably already stopped watching the video after I said that earlier. But anyway, overall, it's a 10. I should probably give it a 9 because, oh goodness, Android Invasion isn't cooperating. But yeah, I should probably give it a 9. But you know what, I'm giving it a 10 anyway because I just love this story, you know. Objectively, it's a 9. Subjectively, it's a 10. Let's just put it like that, and this isn't going to stand, is it? Be right back. Now then, all that's really left to say is go pick up Invasion of Dinosaurs in the unit file set if you haven't already. Comes highly recommended by me, probably not by most people though, but you know, ignore them, just get it and enjoy it for what it is. The dinosaurs aren't the best, but the story truly is. Malcolm Hulke is a sensational writer. He wrote the Sea Devils, he wrote the Silurians, he had some part to play in the Faceless Ones, he wrote Frontier in Space, also wrote Colony in Space, but we'll let him off for that. You know, I don't actually mind Colony in Space that much, but it's my least favourite of his. But, you know, anyway, I'm getting off track again. I need to finish up this review now by saying thank you all for watching. Really appreciate it. I hope you've enjoyed. Next up will be the review of The Waters of Amsterdam, I believe. So yeah, until then, bye everyone.
Monster has turned up in central London.
Why?
Good grief. It's a Stegosaurus.
I'm instituting a full-scale search for the Doctor at once. A shoot on sight.
Blast schemes on the way, I'm sure of it.
Millions of people will be wiped out.
Soon the Doctor and everyone on this planet will never have existed.
Hang on to your hat.